Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Zoom at 8. My name is Julianne Peterson, and I am your host every Tuesday night for Zoom at 8. And we meet here every Tuesday night for 7 years. My gosh, it's amazing. We get new people, we get older people, we get investors, we get sponsors, we get lenders, we get Mark, who's in cost segregation. We have it all. We've been doing it a long time. So we're here to help you. Um, Please, if you would, subscribe to our Zoom at 8 YouTube channel so that you get all the updates. Tonight, we have Domingo Valadez, he was here last week talking about capital raising because I got to tell you, that is the most challenging thing to get done in today's market. And I'm not sure that's going to get all that better over the next year. I think it's still going to be challenging. But he's going to talk to us and walk us through his software program called HOMEBASE. HOMEBASE. So I'm excited for that to have you introduced. Again, we're here to network and learn with our industry experts who can make you a little bit smarter. So hopefully tonight you too will get a little bit smarter. So if you're looking at a deal, I'd love to be able to help you, whether it is providing the debt for you or making a connection with somebody who could be useful to you. That's my goal in life. But on the lending side, you don't want to put in an LOI until you have the understanding of where the lender is going to bring in their capital, right? We have to know that because we are your biggest partner. We're bringing 60 to 80% of the loan, of the capital to the transaction. So I'll need to see your T12 and your rent roll, most recent, right? I'm not looking at July. I'm looking at December right now and January. Gosh, January coming up here in a couple days. So make sure those are in Excel. And I also want to see your underwriting in Excel. Okay, don't give me a screenshot. Come on, we're partners. I'm trying to help you. So send that over. Your offering memorandum, also send that along. Tell me how long you want to hold this. How many units is it? What's the address? Give me the details because I'm going to go on your behalf and sell the deal to the lender. And so I got to know who's on the team, who lives close by, right? So give me all that information. I'll turn a quote in 48 hours to 72 hours, and then you can put those numbers in and see if the deal still works. Should you be paying 10 million? Should you be paying 11? You be paying 9? That's what you have to solve, and that's what I want to help you with. All right, so let's do an introduction to Domingo. He is the founder of HOMEBASE and host of Groundbreakers podcast, where he interviews real estate operators and entrepreneurs who about how to raise capital, how to scale platforms, and structure deals. Previously, he was a product strategy lead at Google. Domingo has personally syndicated 2 real estate deals and built an investor base of over 5,000 accredited and non-accredited investors. After experiencing firsthand the friction syndicators face across fundraising, investor relations, and deal administration, he began building HOMEBASE to simplify the entire process. So it was launched in 2024. HOMEBASE is the modern operating system for real estate sponsors, helping GPs streamline fundraising, investor communication, and back office workflows. Today, HOMEBASE supports over 150 GPs managing more than $300 million in assets. So I'm excited again to visit with Domingo Valadez, who's here with HOMEBASE, and he's going to walk us through that. So good evening, Domingo. Welcome again to Zoom at 8. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you again for having me, Julie. And I know we have a more intimate group tonight, so definitely can make it a lot more Q&A based and just having conversations. But no, I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. And you know what I love about people like you see the issue. You see and you want to solve an issue that we're all experiencing. And so having firsthand knowledge about, what you were experiencing in those syndications, I just absolutely love it. You guys are the best resources for finding a solution because people from outside of the industry, they have no idea. They're trying to kind of put it in, maybe they did it somewhere else and oh, let's bring it to commercial real estate and it's missing something. So I'm excited to hear more about this product that you are have launched and the success that people are experiencing with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me go ahead and just share my screen and I can kind of walk folks through it.
Sure.
So one second here.
And in the meantime, if everybody would put their information in the chat so that you have the new people that you've never met, and you can have their information as well.
Amazing. Can you see my screen?
Yes, good to go.
All right, perfect. So I'm sure some of you are already familiar with products like this. So what we're looking at right now is like the sponsor portal of Homebase. And so really like your central operations for, deals that you're going to be raising for, deals that you're actively managing, all the different investors that are, you know, investing with you and how much you've sent them in distributions. This is just one side of the platform. The other side is the investor portal side where folks can sign in, see how much they've invested with you, the different deals they're a part of, and any K1s, documents, distributions that they've received. And so right now we are on the sponsor side. I really want to showcase maybe like two different workflows that I think most people can resonate with, being incredibly, you know, annoying and challenging to have to deal with when you're doing this, on different Excel spreadsheets, on PowerPoints. The first one being like, what does it look like when you're actively raising for a deal? You have 30, 60, 90 days to close in capital. It is incredibly stressful. You're having lots of conversations with folks. Not only that, you're also doing due diligence on your properties. You're like having running reports. And so, how can we help centralize some of that operation to really streamline that for GPs? And then after that, when it comes to, fund or deal operations, whether you're syndicating something, whether you're managing a fund, sending out monthly, quarterly reports, investor updates, and even distributions and calculating the waterfalls tied to that. And maybe you have different pref and hurdle rates, helping folks with that piece. So I'll start off really just on the fundraising side, because I think that's, speaking of capital raising, always the first thing that comes to mind. So let's say you're raising for this deal here in Florida, and uh, very similar to you, Ria, I'm actually in Miami right now, escaping
Mhm.
the New York City cold. So this is very warm relative to northern parts of the country at the moment. Uh, but here, let me go ahead and click into this deal here. So the first thing I would like to showcase is really just that deal room. And so what we're looking at right now is, a deal room that I set up using just public data, and really just wanted to showcase like what does it look like when you put something like this on Homebase. And so immediately you'll see, a photo tied to the deal, whether it's a fund, whether it's a specific asset that you're buying, a summary of the deal, maybe why you're excited, what you're thinking about for the property, what you want investors to see, maybe certain milestones you have in place. A lot of times, folks will have like a soft commitment deadline when you're going to be, finishing your due diligence, your inspections, and you want investors to be, in on that timeline so you can kind of push people to a close. You want to share a lot of times your team, why people should be excited to work and invest with you, and some of the insights tied to that. If you want to give information about the financials, how much you're raising, what are your projected IRRs, the equity multiple, why does it, what's important to the investor, and some of the classes of shares that are available for them to invest in. And a lot of times there'll be different pref returns and different LP GP splits when it comes to different hurdles and promotes. You want to be very transparent and just share that with investors. And then need documents. A lot of times, folks, to the point of having rent rolls, your financial model, operating agreements, PPMs. You can have all of that centralized in one place on a website URL that you can send people to, and they can see everything about the deal. So it just makes it very easy where you have one central place to share with folks to really start getting those commitments. The nice thing with home-based deal rooms is that they're actually all completely customizable. So you'll see that this is just one configuration of the deal room. Maybe you're like, hey, I don't want to have all these different tabs. I want to have everything in just one really long scrolling format. Maybe I want a YouTube video to immediately start playing about me talking about the deal and why I'm excited. You absolutely can. You would just be adding additional sections and you would just be adding information tied to what you want to showcase. So incredibly customizable, and exactly what you put here is what investors see one to one. So you can really tell the story with your branding and the narrative that you'd like when you're sharing this with investors. So this is the GP side of it, and I'll showcase what the investor view looks like in a moment. But I do want to just really quickly showcase the back end of this deal. And so right now I'm showcasing a deal that's actively taking investment. So we're going to see what it looks like to actually move forward with that as an investor. But on the back end of this, I as a sponsor can see, all the different investors that have invested in the deal so far, how much they've invested, their capital balance so far, the class of share they're a part of. And that's really your positions tab here. We would tap for transactions, and that'll actually be a ledger of who invested how much money on what date, whether those funds have landed. Was it a wire? Was it a check? Was it an ACH? We know real estate's incredibly social. A lot of times it's not just you working on it. Maybe you have other deal members that are helping you raise the capital. Incredibly easy to add co-GPs on Homebase. So maybe it's going to be your organization with two other folks. You could just add them as a co-GP. They'll actually get their own branded Homebase deal room with their logo, just your information. And the reason that's important is when you go back to positions and transactions, there's a column called invested through, and you'll see exactly who brought in what capital. So it makes it very easy to coordinate and track, which is relevant, when it comes to compensating folks, especially if you're working with like a broker dealer or someone helping you with the capital raise. And then lastly, there's even a tab for soft commits. And so in the capital raising presentation I gave last week, a big piece of it was getting folks to a soft commit a lot better than a verbal commitment. If you get someone to actually go to a page, type in an amount, we used to see conversion rates of 50 to 60%. And so really, really powerful to get someone to make an account, type in a number, and mentally commit themselves to investing in the deal. And Homebase just makes it very easy to then follow up with these folks and actually get them to convert into a hard commitment. We support distributions, of course, and I'll showcase that later in this demo. Our classes of shares that you can set up, also incredibly customizable. Right here, we have Class A, Class B, Class C, very standard, but you can also have like GP class, LP class, Class A1. You can decide what even gets shown to investors. Maybe you want to add in a GP class. You don't want your investors to see that, but you want to add all the other GPs to it. You can dictate what gets shown or not. And then lastly, what we're looking at here is a Reg D 506B fundraise for a fund, but we support, Reg 506C, investment clubs, like different types of structures for the actual raise. You can select even the type of payment methods you want to accept. So in this case, we have wire, check, ACH. And we even have KYC that's built into the investment flow. So that's a requirement for you. Our integration, we integrated with Persona, which is a provider of KYC. And so they'll actually run background checks, make sure that folks, haven't laundered money. And then you can feel comfortable when you take in certain investor capital there. So I'll pause there if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to showcase the LP side of the platform as well.
Can you go over again if there's capital raisers on the deal? Is it similar to where it's a silo of all of their investors that links to yours? And how does the communication get handled for all of these people in their silo?
Yeah, so right now, if I as a co-GP, got invited and I made an account, my group of investors signing up with me, like if they just register for my portal, you will not see that as a lead GP who added them. The only folks you do see are those that have committed to the deal. And so you'd actually see them populate under transactions and positions. And the reason that's relevant is because you don't want to give up your entire investor base. Maybe you're just working on like one deal with a person in this silo situation. Um, when it comes to investor communication, so that is still handled through the lead GP, usually sending out emails to everyone, inclusive of who brought in what investor. Um, we have had the request of bifurcating that, or like, certain GPs want to only have communication go through them, and that is a feature we're working on. But at the moment, the lead sponsor is the one that will just send it out to everyone, which I think helps streamline, at least when it comes to sending out like K1s and things tied to that, a bit faster.
Yeah, and I think just what I have learned is you want to have one message. If it was a fund, the fund is who you're communicating to. But if it is a one or two or five, 10 people that are coming in as investors, the understanding is I'm not going to advertise to those people or market to those people. But in terms of having communication, having it all come from one voice, then there's not some issues, right? That maybe the co-GP is saying something that is not in line with the lead GP. So I do like that.
Yeah, because a lot of times the lead GP is still the one making a lot of the crucial decisions, and then everyone kind of is cascading from that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of looks like an OM for investors. It's a cool setup the way you have it. Now, as the funds come in, Domingo, and maybe you'll go over this later, it goes into accounts somewhere. I was considering opening escrow accounts for my investors individually, maybe interest bearing. I'm just exploring this. But how is that handled? I mean, where are the accounts at? Where does the money go? How's that work?
Yeah, so every single person will link their own bank. So we're not forcing you to set up a certain bank with us, for example. So maybe you already have like a local bank that you work with or a regional bank that you work with. And so you can absolutely connect with them. And so when it comes to the investment flow, they'll just see your banking information at the end of it. And whether that's ACH, whether that's wire, whether that's check, they're going to get that information for your bank. And then they'll just send funds to it directly. And so it's up to you to have like maybe, we have folks that their lawyer's the one holding the escrow and they have their own bank, or maybe like the lender does, or like, so there's flexibility there. It's just whatever bank you want investors to send funds to. And then when it comes to distributions, LPs are also the ones that typically will link their bank themselves. And then it makes it easier for the GP because now you're not having to like collect everyone's banking information. When the LP logs in, there's actually a prompt to connect your bank. And then that links in. Now you can send them out ACH basic distributions every month or every quarter. If there
Okay.
are not other questions, I'm going to switch here to the LP side.
Sure.
All right, one second here. I'm going to stop sharing for a brief moment. Cool. So now we're looking at this from the LP side of the platform. And so this is like a net new account I created. It has invested already in a few different deals. But let me go ahead and click on um, the Flagler Village deal. This one is actively taking in capital at the moment. And so you'll see here, it's the exact same setup that we were just looking at one-to-one from the GP side of the platform, exactly how they created it. And maybe looking at this deal, you send me the link here. I'm super excited about what I'm seeing, and I'm like, I want to move forward. And so I'd click on Invest Now. It takes me to a checkout experience very similar to what folks almost expect, like on Amazon when you're checking out, your cart and getting something here. So here, you first just choose the payment method. In this case, I just had wire and check available. I'm going to choose wire. I also can select the investment class I want to move forward with. Let's say I'm going to move Class A that has the lowest minimum. You put in the amount, and you can set minimums here for to be different for each class of share. What entity am I even going to be investing through? In this case, you can create a new one where it's like, okay, I'm going to be doing this for an LLC, through an estate, through a trust, or I already have one created here. I'm going to select that. If I want to download subscription docs ahead of time, I can. And if I'm ready here, I click Initiate Signature, and then subscription docs appear here. And so this is templatized. It can be whatever you need signed for folks, all just in one flow. And we try to pre-fill as much information as we can based on what we have of the investor. So in this case, like we have their name, we have their email, we have their phone number. That's already pre-filled in. We don't have their address, so they'd add that. They just then need to sign. And then once they sign and they confirm it, you're gonna get an email at this point. I'll get an email. You'll be sent like, hey, Domingo, just signed the subscription agreement for 50,000 for Flagler Village. And then I immediately see your banking information. So then at this point, I'd call my bank, sign in my banking portal. I would submit the wire to this exact, wire and account number. And then I would click confirm wire transfer. And then at that point, the GP would get an email letting him know, hey, Domingo just submitted a wire 50,000. And then I can just click on return to dashboard. And then it'll take me to the general LP dashboard. And here you'll see there's, a pop-up that comes up and wants me to link my bank, given now I'm an investor in this deal. And I can see here my 2 investments with HOMEBASE Capital. I can see the total I've invested, the number of deals I'm a part of, distributions I've received, and then I can see the recent activity. And you can see this $50,000 wire transaction now pending. So then at this point, I'm going to just quickly walk through the rest of the LP experience that folks expect when they sign up with you. They can see different investment opportunities you're currently raising for. They can see deals that you're actively managing and operating, and they could even see deals that you've exited. And in this case, there's no deals here, but if you wanted to showcase a track record, you could, and you could talk about some of the exits that you've had if you want to showcase that. We would tap for transactions, and this is very much just a ledger of when I invested, on what dates, distributions I've received. You can actually download reports, and we have general investor statements, deal-specific reports, account statements that you can download, and you just choose the fund or the entity, and then you put in the dates. We would tap for investor updates. So this is a bit more relevant, when I've already been an investor with you 6, 12, 18 months. I don't remember what you sent me 3 months in, but it's relevant because now my accountant is asking me for some information. And so I can sign in to HOMEBASE. I can see all the updates that you've sent me over time, what the progress has been, attachments that you have there, and just makes it easy to keep track of everything. We would tap for documents, so anything signed, K1s that are shared, ties it to the deal, and like the name of the file itself. And then I can also track investment entities that I've created, and the transactions that they're a part of. And yeah, that's really the investor experience. We try making it, incredibly simple to navigate, very easy to find out, where your documents, how much I've received, distributions. And I think, the investment flow, literally 3 steps along that journey, just to make it, incredibly simple for folks to be able to follow through with an investment with GPs on HOMEBASE. Any questions? Otherwise, I'll switch back and kind of showcase the distribution side and the marketing side of the platform.
Yeah, Domingo, I don't know if you mind. I joined kind of late and I didn't get all the information. How much does this cost?
We haven't
Yeah.
covered that yet.
Oh,
So you haven't missed yet.
okay, cool.
Yeah. So
Domingo, why don't you complete it and then we'll go over that.
okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll get back to that one, Manny. A great question. Cool. There's other questions.
I think this is great. And when I look at this, how much you've earned, that's where your distributions would look, right there. It says 0, but as you make distributions, you can, it'll show up right there.
Yeah. So this
correct?
one's interesting because this one is a fund. And so it has the ability of reinvesting. And so you can actually put earned would tell you how much you've received, but maybe haven't gotten in distributions. And so you'll actually see the total investment go up because technically you're reinvesting those funds back into the fund. And so that's the difference between like distributions withdrawn versus earned.
Got it. Oh, thank you for covering that.
I think I do have a relevant question. How does this work for private lending? Or does it not work for private lending?
It does work for private lending. I will say that it's not built for private lending. So like if you have a fund and you're investing it in multiple projects, But ultimately, your investors, for them, it's just like, the fund they invested in, and you're sending out distributions, like whatever yield you promise folks, like that side of the platform works, the investor management side of it. So you could absolutely run it that way, but you're not going to be running like all your projects within Homebase and managing the payouts for those specific projects. It'd be very much catered to the investor side of it.
Okay. Now, this is from the investment side. From a CRM standpoint and capital raising, that's the other part of the platform, correct?
Yeah. So
Okay.
let me switch back to the GP side of it.
Okay.
And I will say you have the ability of switching profiles, and you can actually do this. Right now, these are not connected. But you can actually like have the same account for both a GP or an investor profile. You would just switch between those views. But right now, these are separated right now.
Okay.
Cool. Like, so I'd say here, like there's two profiles. I have an investor profile and a sponsor profile. So I could just switch
Got it.
between them.
And this
Um,
does happen a lot because, as a sponsor, you want to put money in your deal. So you become an investor. Very helpful to see how your money is working alongside your GP shares.
Exactly right. And so hence we unified that. That wasn't always the case on Homebase. That was actually a recent update we made, but now one login, you can switch views, you can track your investments, and maybe you invest in other people's deals as well. And so you can be an investor with a lot of different GPs on Homebase and track all your investments with them, and then, investments with your own deals. So it makes it easy to track that piece.
So kind of unpack that again. So as a limited partner, you could put your whole profile in here, and would that link to your GP that you're invested in as a silo to that kind of thing?
Yes, but we don't pull data from other platforms. So it'd have to be all within Homebase.
Yes,
So like,
correct.
yeah. So you'll see
Okay.
here, like we switch profile. We're now looking at the investor dashboard side. Um, and if I switch back, like now it takes you back to the sponsor side, but this is all for Homebase Capital.
Yes, of
Um,
course. So, I mean, we would make the assumption that other deals that you're invested in are using Homebase, and then they could link together, and you would have
yes.
your LP shares because they're pulling from the master. How often do you find that people are, as limited partners, are tracking their own information on their own platform? Is that very common?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we've been growing, we've been saying that there's been a lot of folks that are a part of other people's deals that aren't tied to their own, and they're tracking it in one place.
Mm,
Yeah, it wasn't as big of an issue when we were just supporting like 50 GPs, but now that we're in the 150 range, I think we've been seeing a lot more
mm,
cross investment and folks having, multiple profiles. Hence, we pushed out this feature to support that.
mm. Okay.
But yeah, want to showcase, let's say you're mentioning the CRM side. What does that look like within Homebase? So two pieces here. First, you have your contacts. So anyone who makes an account and registers with you, you'll have their information. And so let's say we'll click on Domingo. You can see, first of all, does this person have KYC completed? They don't. So you can see here, not started. Are they accredited? Also haven't begun that. But there's a point where if you have a 506C deal, people upload accreditation docs, you can review them. And if you approve them, this would say approved. Self-accredited. So anyone who registers for any Homebase account with you, like they would answer the question, are you accredited or not? And so this is really important for 506B deals where it's self-attestation. You can have up to 35 non-accredited investors participate in a Reg D 506B deal, which is one of the most common regulation types that people raise capital for. And so this is really protecting our GPs around, like, we force everyone to answer it because as a GP, you're not on the hook to check if this is true or not. It's a self-attestation. And so we want to protect our GPs where every LP actually, is saying that they're accredited or not. And so you can see here whether or not they set that. And then you can see if they have their bank account linked. We also can see investment history. You can see, a few different investments that have been made here. They're pending. You can see distributions they've received, any soft commits that they've made for any of your deals, documents that they have tied to them, accreditation docs that they've uploaded, and you can actually upload it for them. Maybe they sent that to you offline. You can just attach it to them. Entities that they have created. And then you can actually grant people access. So a lot of our larger customers, they have institutional investors that maybe are part of family offices. Those family offices have, multiple principals that log in that want to track investments. So you can actually grant access to folks' accounts so that other people can view them. Or maybe it's a husband and wife. They don't want to share one login. They want to have multiple, but they want to see the exact same investment. We support that. So you can just grant access to it. So that is the contact piece of it. In terms of just sending out emails and updates, you can do that on Homebase. So there's two types. So deal updates are those that you'll see on the LP side. It'll be in that dashboard called Investor Updates. And so if you click on Deal Update, we automatically will show you, okay, which of these do you want to send an update for? We pull the investors tied to it. And there's already even templates you can choose from, or select no template and create your own. This is a rich text editor, very, one-to-one with email. If you copy paste anything from email, it's going to keep the same formatting. You can save it as a template. You can send out test emails. There's variables you can use that customize it to every person receiving the email. First name, last name. You want to send someone directly to the deal, you can do that. Or you can just send out general investor outreach, and you can select the people you want to send an update to, select, the type of email you want to send, and then you can send it. So that's really like the outreach side, something that we recently published. A lot of folks, like I share a lot of AI native workflows within Homebase that people really like to use. We actually created a prompt library for a lot of our GPs now. So you can just click on AI prompt library, and you can actually, there's a lot of things you can now copy and use to, either source deals, create templates to send out investor emails or updates. There's
Can
even
you
some
show
that
us? Could you show us an example of that?
Yeah, so let me see, like, it's literally just you copy paste it. So you'd be copy pasting this into ChatGPT, Claude. But a lot of folks that sign up for Homebase is probably because they've seen me post content on LinkedIn, and that's how I first chat with them. And a lot of times I'm posting LinkedIn related content tied to like fundraising, how to source deals. And so we got enough inbound from that we're like, you know what, why don't we just create a central database where people can just copy everything that I'm posting, and we update this. So folks can come in here and copy a lot of this information and then just, put it into whatever, LLM they're using and then get some of these outputs. So for example, today I posted a, a list of 200 family offices that are investing in real estate, and like how we pulled that. Like we would include it in this prompt library. That one is not in here yet because it just released it today, but we'll probably be adding it tomorrow.
That's cool.
Yeah, so just something random we added just because we thought a lot of folks were asking us about it. But the last thing I'll showcase is really just sending out distributions, because I know that's always super top of mind for everyone as they're doing that quarterly or monthly. Um, if you click on distributions and you click on initiate distribution, and you can do this for every single deal that you have within the platform, you can either send them manually or do a waterfall calculation. For the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to quickly showcase a basic waterfall setup. But usually you link your bank, and then you put in your waterfall configuration. In this case, let's click on Setup Waterfall. In this case, we just have one class of share created, but you can very easily add multiple. You can name it whatever you'd like. You can select different types of hurdles, whether that's like preferred return, return of capital, IRR. Those are the three that we currently support. You add your day count to it, actual over 365, actual over 360. Whatever. In this case, we're doing preferred returns, was asking me what's my annual rate that I want to hit as a hurdle, whether or not you have a promote tied to it. And you can very easily just click on add multiple hurdles, and you can drag them around and have different types of hurdle rates that you're adding. In this case, we're just going to keep it simple with one, save the configuration, and then you input an amount. Let's say we're sending out 100,000, calculate the distribution. and then it actually breaks out, ownership across all of this. You can see the breakdowns of who got in how much money, and like what type of, hurdle they hit based on what you have set and what you named it. And then you can see how much is going into which bucket. And then you can either edit, maybe you're like, hey, like this doesn't match what my Excel spreadsheet has. And so you could always click edit the amounts. You can just change them to match. Like maybe you had a few nuances that we didn't capture. You can edit that. If you feel like, hey, everything now is accurate, you can then, save it, export the CSV file if you want to maybe share with your accountant. And then you'd be able to execute them. And then from there, we'd pull it directly from your bank, and then it'd be shared to every single investor's bank directly.
So it pulls the data of the person who signed up, all their banking information. It pulls that from you, their banking, and it ties your bank to their bank and sends it out.
Exactly right.
Wow, that is sweet. So
Yeah.
efficient.
Yeah, a lot of folks, like one of the core use cases for Homebase is they want to send out distributions, and especially when you have like 5 different deals, and having to go to your bank for each of them just takes a long time. So having a central place to just really quickly run through all the distributions that they every month, every quarter, saves them a lot of time.
Yeah, that's great. Amazing.
And yeah, that's really, like, I'd say the main workflows that we support currently on Homebase. If anyone has any questions or like wants to dive into any piece, happy to, provide more context. But I'd say a lot of folks really appreciate streamlining the capital raising process on both ends, and then post close, managing their investors, sending out updates, sending out distributions, and then making it easy to share Q1s at the end of the month.
So I do have some questions here from our investors in the house. I do have a question. We talked last week about marketing, right? And trying to know who our investors are, and getting to know them and marketing to them. And on this marketing, does it use like you can build one and it would go out to all of the people in your CRM? And is that similar to like a MailChimp, or, with all of the funnel and, understanding all of those?
Yeah, so I'd say what a CRM is really powerful at is like tracking where people are and like sending out different emails to them. You can
Yeah.
do that within Homebase. Where MailChimp is like superior to us in that aspect is like sending out drip marketing campaigns. So if you want to have like someone go to your website and you automatically hit them with an email like 2 days out, 5 days out, you can't automate that on Homebase.
Okay.
It's very much like, I'd say a lot of folks use the platform and they already have a lot of existing investors, or getting started and are trying to capture some of those existing investors. And then you can send out some of those emails on platform and track who you sent it to.
So is the only way it gets into Homebase is by somebody signing up through it, or can you sign them up for it yourself and then now they're in your database?
You can sign up yourself or they can sign up themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's either one. You can even bulk upload like maybe your 500-person investor base if you wanted to.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. All right. Well, we've got some questions here. So does each investor, their profile require a different email for each deal, or can they all go towards one email?
They could all go towards one email. So that's where the different profiles come in, where you
Okay.
can switch between them.
Okay, cool. And does the GP and the LP, do those have to be separate and different, or can those be the same as well?
The GP and LP can also be the same. So everything can
Oh,
be
it's
funneled in one.
fantastic.
Yeah. Everything can be funneled in one. And it makes it just easy to switch between the different profiles.
Okay. They do your documents in Homebase meet the new requirements for self certification of accredited status?
So when it
So,
comes to so when it comes to collecting like accreditation docs, like we say what those are. So like there's a description of what those accreditation docs are. So it's up to the investor to upload. We don't review them on behalf of the GP. So it's up to the GP
Mhm.
to basically review them and be like, okay, like here's a CPA letter and I'm going to accept this. And we define what that is. Um, but it wouldn't be like us saying what that is. And in terms of what accreditation even stands for, like we do have the most up-to-date descriptions of it. But it goes back to like self-attestation. It's like the person when they first sign up, they're the ones declaring that they're accredited.
Yeah. I know I've seen like a checklist of how each of these steps go and making sure that um, they are filling those out correctly, and you can't move on to the next level of from the guideline without checking those boxes. Is there something like that? I think you might have showed that to us.
Yeah, so they would have to select like they are self-attested in terms of like multiple checkboxes to following the guidelines. You mean like for accreditation?
Yes, because what happened is our experience is people just thought that they were accredited, sent in a letter saying I'm accredited. The GPs did not have visibility of that yet before they went and sent over the money. So now I'm
Got it.
in
Yep.
conflict because I have their money, but I'm not sure their paperwork really is aligned properly.
Yeah, so there's a verification step. So I showed like the simplest investor sign up flow on Homebase, but we have a more complex one where if you have, for example, like a 506C deal, you do
Mhm.
have to make sure everyone's accredited, and that's you are on the hook as a GP. And then if you turn on KYC required, they have to then be approved also by persona, to make sure they're not laundering money. So if you had both of those on, before you'd even see the investment flow, there'd be a verification step and you'd see those two come up. And so like you'd first would maybe take a photo of your face, your ID, that'd be the KYC step. And then the accreditation step, they'd upload those docs. And then it'd say these docs are under review. And then you'd actually get an email as a GP letting you know, hey, Domingo just submitted the accreditation docs, approve them. And right now we're looking at like at the GP side of the platform. You would then, see like an exclamation point next to my name. You would go to documents under accreditation docs. There's none here right now.
Mhm.
But like if I uploaded something, there'd be a check mark where it says action, and you would either approve them or you click the X, which you would deny them. And if you deny them, they could not move forward with the investment.
That is really key, is stopping it. Um, and I know I'm an investor on one of these platforms, and they do not let you, like, you have to wait to hear back from them. They're like, no, no, no. Where the other platforms that I've used, they just move you right on in without review. And I think that's not a good platform to be using without being able to have reviews status kind of updates.
Yeah, we do not want to put people in the situation in which they accept
Yeah,
capital, especially for a 506C deal, until they feel
yeah,
crystal clear that this person's accredited.
yeah. Perfect, perfect. Um, let's see. So Manny says, does each investor profile require different? Okay, we already answered that. Um, Angel says, our investors were pretty unhappy when they had to use different emails. Okay, so that's confirming that. So
Yes.
GPs in 2 deals, but invested in, say, 5 deals. They are all under one email. I keep asking this because so many platforms say yes, but at the end of the day, they need separate emails. So being on the platform is what you're saying. They could use the same email and have access. They draw the information from Homebase using that same email. You said yes.
No. Yes. No, it's a great question, Angel. We previously did not support it. As of the last 2 weeks, we do. And so like it's literally a very new update. Literally, we just sent out an update to our entire customer base last Friday, letting them know about this. And so now like you'll see here, there's a profile. It has under home-based capital, you have both the sponsor and the investor. And so that is what lets you switch between these views. Um, and so if you're a GP, if like with multiple GP accounts, it would be all under Homebase Capital. Maybe I have like Angel Capital right below and it has its own logo. And like I would just switch between these different
Mm.
profiles. And profiles also include like the investor view within that GP account. And so yes, you can very easily switch between them all. Um, because we had that exact feedback as well from a lot of our customers being like, hey, people don't like having separate emails. And so now everything's combined and you can switch between them. And if I even showed you the settings, you can see like, hey, this is the organization. Here are the different admins that are a part of it. Here's my profile. And like you can give people access to your profile. And then here I am
Mm.
as like my specific user. And this is like my email, my password. So it makes it just very easy to switch between all the different profiles because a lot of people cross invest, be an LP in a lot of different deals. So very much heard that feedback and built Homebase around that.
I'd be curious if there will be a time where we'll be able to access all the different platforms based on a social security number or EIN number, your LLC, something like that, where you're not stuck with, one platform for each different use case.
I will say with where AI is going, with just like how much unstructured data it can pull in and then structure it. And now so much of this can happen on your browser. Whether or not even platforms want to allow you to do certain things, like you'll just be able to pull that data because you're like Google through Google Chrome allows you to pull that data. I think the answer will be yes, and it'll probably happen in like the next year or two.
It's kind of scary because you can have access to, you really have to have some monitoring of your information, both from
Yeah.
investor and for a person like yourself who owns the platform itself and you're building it out. You want people to have access, but not the wrong people.
No, it's true. And I'll give a use case like this is completely separate to this, but like I'm sure all of us use LinkedIn. We all post on it. I was trying out like Claude and I was literally like Claude Cowork and I was like, hey, can you reply to all these people that commented that they want X thing from my account? And then it literally just went in the browser and started replying to people based on like certain things they said. And then
Mm.
I had like this entire list of what I wanted them to reply based on what they said. So to the point of like you can pull information even without the platform giving you access to it, like it's already happening.
Wow.
So I
Kind of
think things
scary.
will get unified. It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so Manny asked the question, how do we sign up for it? What are we looking at for cost? How long does it take? Give us the details.
Yeah, so we have a few plans. So like if you have no deals, you're just getting started, you're trying to start collecting soft commitments, Homebase is $100 a month. For the very first deal, it's 250, no matter the size or AUM, and then it's 500 for any number of deals in an unlimited AUM. So really just those three tiers. And so I think people are pretty tired of AUM based pricing, and so we're very particular not doing it in that fashion.
Okay. So somebody who is capital raising, has no deals yet, but is building his network, could use this. Um, how would it look if they own their own platform and they go to a GP that has their own platform as well? How does that, do you just call it the same? Do you have access to, how would that work?
Yeah, so I'd say like you would have two different systems,
Okay.
and so that's not ideal for some GPs. But there's
Okay.
enough folks that are GPing in a lot of different deals that instead of always being the co-GP on every other person's account, they're like, I just want to start having it on my own.
Yeah.
And so we have seen folks use Homebase in that manner where they'll just like raise the capital, they'll put in the bank account of the GP who they're investing into, and then they can track everything all within Homebase. We have seen that.
Okay.
Um, People have gotten creative with how they use it just so they can keep it in one place and because it's a lot more affordable than some of the other platforms.
Okay, so in that case, you would have quite a few different, bank accounts, right? For each deal, you'd have a different bank account. So that
Every
works
deal has its own bank
interesting.
account.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. Okay. All right. How long is it's the subscription? Is it a yearly subscription? How does that work?
Yeah, so we're month to month, and we also offer a
Okay.
30-day money back guarantee. So if you want to try it out, see if you like it, and there's also no cost for us creating your deals and setting you up. So if you're like, hey, like I'm thinking of trying it out, I'm already on an existing platform and I have 4 different deals, but I don't want to migrate everything. We'll actually migrate everything for you. You can then try it out, see if you like it. If you like it, if you don't like it in the first 30 days, like no questions asked, like no big deal. But we just try to make it a very easy comparison for folks.
Hmm. Okay. Angel has a question here. So you support hosting a partial deal. So can you, Angel, come off and explain that question?
So we've never had co-GPs because it kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're either a GP or an LP, and I always worry that they're not going to have enough responsibility and we're going to get in trouble. But beyond that, if a co-GP was with you, we personally have been on InvestNext. So say there's a co-GP on one of our deals, would you support a partial deal? Like, could they host all of their investors on your site versus having to move over to InvestNext?
They could. They would basically just put in like if they'd be like one line item on your cap table effectively of like just them. Like usually it's when they also want to own the communication themselves. So like you'll send something out and they're like, hey, perfect. I'm just gonna copy paste that and send it to my group of investors as well. And so then they don't have to worry about, are you going to be sending them something? Am I going to be sending them something? Now it looks like we're like both giving messages that are maybe not aligned. So I'd say that's how we've seen folks use it. Of course, it's not the perfect system because it wasn't built for that, but like people get creative with how they use things and then you kind of react accordingly and then try to support those use cases. So that's how we've seen people do partial deals on Homebase.
Yeah, but you said it would bring in one line item in the cap table, so they're not identified necessarily in the GPs. They're only seeing it as like even like a fund in this case. It would show
Yeah,
up kind of like a fund.
because I'd say like the folks that we've at least supported so far, it's like they don't want to spend the time of like manually inputting all the information again for folks and like having two places where everything's basically living. Um, so that's at least what we've seen. I'm sure some people don't mind manually doing it and do both, but at least from the conversations we've had with GPs, that's how we've seen it so far.
Mhm. All right. Any other
One email
questions?
thing is huge because the multiple emails thing is huge, PETA, like big time. And people get
Yeah,
really frustrated.
Oh yeah. No. We hear you. People will get frustrated with us too. We heard enough complaints that we said we must support this. And then we did.
fantastic. It seems like you've combined a lot of the bells and whistles in one platform. It's really easy to navigate it. Sounds like you're very helpful in assisting people. The cost is, you know, affordable, especially if you're looking at being a co-GP, taking on your own assets, not having to deal with how much money you're capital raising. That's always been kind of a challenge, I think, based on how much money you're bringing into a deal. So somebody wanted to reach out to you and know more about this platform, how would we do that?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. I'm just my Domingo Valadez, posting a lot, or you can reach out to me via email at domingo@homebasetheory.com. Or if you just go to our website, you can actually schedule a demo with anyone, like with another member of our team, and then they can walk you through it, and then you can just sign up from there.
That sounds great. Any other final questions from the group here? I know there are platforms out there that are similar, but they can get really complicated to navigate. It's been my experience. And, I love this because it's simple. For people that aren't super technical, you can reside here easily. So, all right. Well, Domingo, thank you. Thank you so much for walking us through your platform. Super helpful. And I think, if somebody's involved, has questions, they'll reach out to you. And please stay connected to us. We'd love to hear any advances or changes that we need to know.
Sounds good. No, thank you again for having me on, Julie. Thank you everyone for the incredible questions. And yeah, if you want to connect, please just shoot me a note on either email or LinkedIn, and I'll include my email here as well.